42-year-old Ricky Luebbert lived in Texas County, Missouri in 2007. He was last seen on November 10th. 3 days later, a neighbor of his became concerned that he had not seen Ricky for a few days. Inside of Ricky's home, the neighbor found his body and called 911. Investigators quickly had a suspect, Tommy Wetzel. Investigators at the time did not specify what led them to Wetzel. After an exhaustive investigation trying to find more evidence against Wetzel, he was charged and convicted of a federal weapons violation, but he was never charged with taking Ricky's life. That all changed after the Texas County Sheriff's Office opened a new investigation into Ricky's case in January of 2022. The Sheriff's Office was aided with the resources from the television program Cold Justice. Investigators from the Sheriff's Office reviewed the original case files and evidence. Based on that information, investigators conducted new interviews of witnesses and a suspect, and had additional analysis performed on evidence in the case. The new investigative efforts, as well as the prior ones, led to an indictment for armed criminal action and discharge of a firearm at or from a motor vehicle, and for taking Ricky's life against Wetzel. He was arrested on June 29, 2022, by the Barton County Sheriff's Office at his home in Liberal, Missouri. He has been transported back to Texas County. Texas County Sheriff Scott Lindsay had this to say in a statement. Today represents an important step in seeking justice for Ricky Luebbert. I hope that this arrest is some sort of comfort to the family of the victim, even though it has taken 14 plus years to reach this point. I would like to commend all the investigators that worked on this case, but especially the deputies that were assigned to reopen the investigation and approached it with a dedication and perseverance. I would also like to thank the staff and resources provided by Cold Justice to assist with the investigation. Wetzel is currently being held in the Texas County Jail without bond. The motive of the crime is unclear at the moment. The Cold Justice team, who played an important part in solving the case, had this to say in a press release. Nearly 15 years later, there is justice for Ricky's brother Randy and his 2 boys. This is all possible due to the hard work of the Texas County Sheriff's Department and the assistance of Steve Spingola and Kelly Siegler. Our experts, Eric Devlin, Kathy Panieri, and the Cold Justice team worked incredibly hard to support the investigation team. Cold Justice has contributed to more than 50 arrests in cold cases around the U.S. "22-year-old Catherine Blauvelt lived in Simpsonville, South Carolina in 2016. She was married to 27-year-old John Tufton Blauvelt. He worked as a U.S. Army recruiter in Greenville County. Catherine disappeared from her home on October 25, 2016. The following day, friends found her body in the basement of a house that had been abandoned for more than 20 years. The house was a place where Catherine and her friends used to hang out as children. A post-mortem examination revealed that Catherine had been fatally stabbed with a knife. Less than a month after she was found, Simpsonville police obtained a warrant for John Blauvelt's arrest, charging him with taking Catherine's life and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. But by then, Blauvelt had fled the state with his 17-year-old girlfriend. He was classified as an Army deserter. The girlfriend is Hannah Thompson of Fountain Inn, South Carolina. She was reported missing by her parents on November 21, 2016, just 3 days after police issued a warrant for Blauvelt's arrest. Blauvelt and Thompson was spotted in Las Cruces, New Mexico a few days later. Then after the U.S. Marshals joined the search to find Blauvelt, they learned that he and Thompson traveled through Alabama, Texas, and California. In December 2016, Thompson called her parents requesting to return home to South Carolina. She was found safe in Oregon on December 12th, having been abandoned by Blauvelt. Simpsonville police stated that Blauvelt was known to live around wooded areas near the Oregon-Washington border. The case was featured on In Pursuit with John Walsh in 2019. On July 20, 2022, the Pacific Northwest Violent Offender Task Force, led by the U.S. Marshals Service, captured Blauvelt following a lead received at the Marshals headquarters earlier in 2022. The nature of the tip was not disclosed, but officials stated Blauvelt had been living as Ben Klein when they arrested him without incident. Jackson Sheriff Nathan Sickler said, "We are glad this offender is in custody, and the process can begin to seek justice for the victim and her family. The work of this local violent offender task force is extremely important to the safety of our community, and we are proud of their efforts and our continued partnership. Catherine's mother, Patricia Piver, said, "Losing a child is unbearable. We knew John did it. But when he ran, our hearts sunk, and then he disappeared off the face of the map. And months turned into years, and now 5.5 years later, you lose hope, and you just gotta find something to hold on to. But getting that call yesterday, I'm still shaking," Piver continued. "It was the most amazing phone call ever." She also told reporters that Catherine's relationship consisted of intimate partner violence and hoped others could learn from her daughter's story. "He or she will beat you one day and then the next day apologize. Don't believe it. Catherine got away from him and moved back home, but they're not going to change. They threaten, beat, and hurt you. Get away and stay away." John Blauvelt was booked into the Jackson County Jail, where he awaits to be taken back to South Carolina to face prosecution. 52-year-old Andrea Cincotta lived in Arlington County, Virginia in 1998. She was a single mother and worked as a librarian. Andrea was engaged to a guy named James Christopher Johnson. Johnson discovered Andrea's lifeless body in the bedroom closet of the apartment they shared August 22, 1998. Johnson told authorities that coins and bags were missing from the apartment, and that her hatchback Honda Civic and its keys were also gone. There were no signs of a struggle or forced entry. He also told police that Andrea had given an old computer to a man doing maintenance work around the apartment 4 weeks before her life was taken. According to Johnson, Andrea was having problems with the computer, and the maintenance worker was in their apartment a few times to work on it. The maintenance worker was identified as Bobby Joe Leonard. Leonard was viewed as a suspect, but was not charged, and the case went cold. The case was reopened in 2013 at the insistence of Andrea's son, Kevin Cincotta. In 2018, Leonard told the police he had in fact worked on Andrea's computer and talked to her a few times about it not working well. Leonard said that he got a call from a male who identified himself as an engineer. Leonard believes this man was Andrea's fiancé, James Christopher Johnson. According to Leonard, Johnson called him and offered $5,000 if Leonard could take care of something for him. Johnson then apparently told Leonard to take Andrea's life. He told him when Andrea would be home. Allegedly, Johnson then told Leonard not to use a gun because that would be too loud, that he should wear gloves, that he should not be seen by anyone, and that he should wear a hat to cover his face. He also told Leonard that the $5,000 would be left in the closet for him to pick up. Leonard said that Andrea offered him a root beer when he came to the apartment. He then strangled her until she was no longer breathing. When he went to the closet, the money was not there. In November of 2021, both Leonard and Johnson were charged with the crime. At that point, Leonard was already serving a life sentence for assaulting a 13-year-old girl in 1999. Arlington Police Chief Andy Penn said, "The passage of time does not diminish the need for answers and accountability in this senseless crime that took Andrea's life. The indictments are the culmination of years of dedicated investigative work in our ongoing pursuit of justice on behalf of Andrea and her family." On July 27, 2022, 54-year-old Bobby Joe Leonard pleaded guilty to taking Andrea's life. Johnson is currently under home confinement since his arrest and denies any involvement in what happened. His trial is scheduled to start on September 12, 2022. Mr. Johnson is innocent, his attorneys Manuel Leva and Frank Salvato said in a statement. They also said, in prosecuting him, the government is relying on the self-serving lies of a man serving a life sentence for the assault of a 13-year-old girl. Kevin Cincotta, Andrea's son, said that he had been surprised that Johnson was a suspect and that the family had supported the man they call Chris back in 1998 when he was first identified as a suspect.